Our work today is going to be with triangles, the measures given for angles in the triangles, and then taking a look at where we have a missing angle. In place of the measure for that angle, we have a variable. And how will you be able to find out what that measure is? How are we going to do that? Is there a method that we can use? Well, based on what you know about finding the missing angles, how would you find the missing angles of these triangles? Well, let's take a look and see if our essential question can help us with this. How does knowing the measure of complementary, supplementary, and straight angles help me to find the measure of a missing angle of a triangle? What I want you to do is talk in your groups and identify information or questions that you think you need to have to be able to find the missing angle of a triangle. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to talk within your group. I want you to write your question down on your whiteboard, and when I say go, you're going to hold your whiteboard up and we're going to take a look at the questions that you have. Okay, so get ready, talk in your group, write your question, and when I say go, we're going to take a look at your question. So I'm going to pause the video here and we'll come back in 2 minutes. And pens down, go, hold your whiteboards up. Let's see your questions. Ooh, a lot of good ones. So most of you seem to think you need to know something about the measure of a triangle, and I see some very interesting questions. Do all triangles have the same measure, or does it depend on the type of a triangle? Good question, because we know there's different types of triangles, but will they all equal the same measure? Well, the sum of the measures of the angles in a triangle is 180 degrees. This would apply to any triangle. All triangles, doesn't make any difference what kind they are going to equal 180 degrees. So now that you've got this piece of information, how will you be able to prove that the total measure of any triangle is 180 degrees? Well, I've got a triangle drawn here, and I've got the angles in 3 different colors. I want you to have this discussion in your group again. How could you go about proving that the measure of any triangle is 180 degrees? What would that look like? You can draw a diagram, you can write an explanation, but I want you to have that discussion, knowing that the sum of any triangle is 180 degrees. How can you prove this? I'm going to give you 4 minutes for this. I want the discussions to be focused on what your proof is going to look like. Draw it on your whiteboard and begin. And pens down. I've seen a lot of very interesting answers and explanations about how you would prove that the measure of a triangle is 180 degrees. And this is what most of you put down. And you did it in varying ways. Some of you even took out a piece of paper and formed it into a triangle and then tore some of your corners off to do this exact same thing. So if I take this angle and bring it up here, if I take this angle and bring it up here, this is the straight line, and many of you labeled it and showed that the straight line equals 180 degrees. So if my 3 corners of a triangle are going to equal 180 degrees, then because the straight angle is 180 degrees, the measure of a triangle will also be 180 degrees. How can we apply that to actually finding the missing angle? Here we have a triangle. We've got 25 degrees, 37 degrees, and an unknown. So how are you going to find that? Here's some information for you. I want you to consider this, work this out in your groups. I want you to be able to explain and draw a diagram showing how you got your answer. I'm going to give you 4 minutes for this. Work together. By all means, if your group gets stuck, talk with another group. See if you can come up with something that will help you find the answer. And we'll check back in about 4 minutes. Okay, begin. Okay, now listing your information, you all had that you've got two angles. One is 25 degrees, one is 37 degrees, and you've got an unknown. And when you were writing your equation, there were variations on this. Some of you had 180 degrees on the left side, your equal sign, and then your angles and your missing angle on the right-hand side. Some of you reversed it, and it doesn't make any difference. As long as you've got one set of terms on one side of your equal sign and the measure of your triangle on the other side of your equal sign, that is not a problem. You can do that. And when you worked it out, this is what I saw here. You combined your like terms to get your 62. You need to then isolate your variable by using the inverse operation, and you subtracted 62 from each side, which gave you y equals 118 degrees. A number of you went a step further, remembering what I have always told you to prove your work. And you had 25 plus 37. Now that we know that missing angle, we don't have y anymore. We have 118 degrees equals 180. And you added this side together to get 180 equals 180. Very nice job. So the ones that I saw writing this down and proving your work, I'm going to be giving you extra credit for remembering that this is an important step. Well done.